Welcome into Sun Devil Extra, and when we say road show, we really mean road show this week. And for the first time, I'm going to say safely in this history, not only the show, but I'm going to say in the Sun Devil Radio Network's history, we're going international. Graham Rossini, the AD of ASU, joining us from Germany right now. I'm Braden Belt back here in Tempe. But Graham, Guten Tag, how are things in Germany?
Good evening. It is into the evening hours here as we record. It's a cold night. I'm in Hamburg, Germany, and yeah, proud to represent the Devils across the pond here.
Yeah, so give us a little bit of background on what exactly you're doing over there. I know last week we talked about working on the, not really working, but the relationship with Adidas, and of course you'll be ending the trip in London. But how have things been going so far, and what's to come?
Yeah, busy week. We started in Munich, Germany, where we were in Herzog, Germany yesterday, the headquarters, global headquarters of Adidas. Longtime incredible partner. That was quite the experience that we'll get a chance to touch on. And then up here, northern part of the country here in Hamburg, Germany. Dr. Crow taught me this. If there's a chance to pursue some business, you get on the plane and you find a way. So we're going to all depths of the globe to continue to build the momentum across what we're doing here with the Sun Devils and all of our programs and more connections, more relationships that'll feed back into the momentum that is happening throughout the department right now. And as you mentioned, we'll head to London tomorrow and pick up a additional team from ASU that's there preparing for the game in September at Wembley Stadium, the Union Jack Classic. And I've got a lot this week, but it's been a lot of fun.
I hope you're also indulging on some German food and refreshments as well. I'm sure you probably are, but that's an important part to any trip. And like you said, awesome to get international and make some connections for the Sun Devils. You know, you mentioned the Union Jack Classic, and it's a big day as we're recording because the ASU football schedule just dropped. So obviously, that's always exciting. Fans circulating social media, of course, with the schedule release. Things will get going on September 5th against Morgan State, but some highlight games to touch on at Texas A&M September 12th. Of course, that game in London against Kansas on September 16th. And then conference games, you always circle Texas Tech October 17th on the road in Lubbock, October 31st against BYU. The U of A game will be, of course, Thanksgiving weekend. But home matchups, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Hawaii, Colorado, Baylor, and like we said, Morgan State. So I guess, Graham, just your initial reactions to the full dump of the football schedule.
Yeah, exciting that it's out. It's been a long time coming. The international game threw a few little maybe schedule challenges in there for the conference, just trying to move a few things around. They were amazingly accommodating for the chance for us to play Kansas and London, and that's why we're playing Hawaii kind of in the middle of the season. So we can play Kansas in week 3, and that's a departure from how a lot of these international games have been played out. You've seen a lot of those on week 0, maybe week 1, and we're week 3 for the game in London. But it really is an exciting schedule. We're happy with how it sets up. We're happy with the mixture of road matchups, which would be a great challenge, and some really exciting home matchups as well. So, yeah, excited to get it out. There's a chance that we'll have possibly 2 Friday games that could get changed as we get into February and as the TV networks start to really dive in and make their selections. We're expecting 1 home game and 1 road game to move to a Friday at some point. We'll communicate that as soon as we have an update for the fan base so people can plan accordingly. But excited that it's out. And again, the momentum from last year with sold out home crowds every single game. We want to continue that with Morgan State coming in on September 5th and just relaunch this into another exciting Sun Devil football season.
You know, one thing I noticed, Graham, just looking at the initial schedule is because of the Union Jack Classic, because of the Texas A&M game, and the bye after going to London, there's only 1 home game really during the super hot months. Of course, early October in the desert, usually still pretty warm, but it should help a little bit in terms of the fan experience as well, not having to deal with those really, really hot temperatures at the beginning of the year. So that's going to be something to monitor, of course, moving forward, just with the way the schedule's set up this year. Should be a good thing for the fans overall.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that maybe not how it was originally designed to do, but I think a nice benefit of the way that the schedule plays out of having most of our home games when the weather gets really nice. You get in October and we know those evening temperatures really become a lot more pleasant. And then the further you get in the fall, it's just paradise the way it is in the valley right now. So it's very cold here in Germany. So I'm looking forward to getting back to the valley in our nice moderate winter. I think it's 28 and very cold here right now. So yeah, something to look forward to as we get into football season, knowing that 5 of our 6 home games will be during a really, really nice time of year.
football season always fun to talk about, but we have some other news to talk about as we get going in the show today, and big news that broke right after we stopped recording last week, and that was, of course, the extension of Willie Bloomquist. Signed on with the ASU baseball program for 2 more years through 2028. And I know, Graham, we've talked so much about the baseball program, what it means to you personally, what it means to ASU athletics, and this community as a whole. But to lock up Coach Bloomquist for a couple more years, and obviously with the full scholarships now, this program has the momentum just continues to carry forward for Sun Devil baseball.
Yeah, and look, Coach Bloomquist has done an incredible job taking over the program. The point where he took it over and where the program was, and also him coming in, understanding that there's going to be a tremendous learning curve for him, and he knew that coming in. We were very clear before he joined officially that this was going to be a challenge, a great challenge, but one that he was very up for. And he's the ultimate competitor. I've had the benefit of knowing him for over 20 years now and love what he represents, love how he's played the game, love what ASU means to him, and know that this is more of a passion project and a personal challenge than it is a job. And I mean, he's committed to learning this craft. And you look over the last 3.5, 4 years and how his progression from somebody coming in, with incredible baseball knowledge, incredible ability to teach, lead, and motivate, but understanding the college game, while the college game has also been adapting maybe more than it ever has. He's really grown in the role, and we saw that last season where the conviction in how he was leading the team, really getting them focused. 18 wins in the Big 12 is something to really be excited by. And then you turn over the roster. They really did an incredible job this summer in the transfer portal, recruiting high school players at a very high level once again. So that's the addition of these resources we're putting in, scholarships, the NIL support, et cetera, where they're competing at a national level. And it was important that we have continuity in leadership. And so he's got 3 more seasons, if not many, many more, at the helm of this program. He's deserved it. This is a really exciting season as we go into the start of the 26th year here in a few weeks, and excited for Willie to continue to lead this program to greater heights.
Yeah, it's awesome stuff. And like you said, just a couple of weeks away, February 13th will be the season opener for Sun Devil baseball. So it's sneaking up on us. And of course, it's always an exciting time and great momentum, like you said, around this program as a whole, and a really exciting roster for this year as well. Going back to Adidas now and the Sun Devils' relationship with Adidas, it's rather fitting that while Graham is over in Germany at the HQ of Adidas, some great uniforms that were teased on this program, by the way, a few months ago. James Harden collaboration with Sun Devil basketball, both the men's and the women's teams, with some really sweet black uniforms, honoring, of course, Sun Devil great James Harden, and a really awesome collab that is exclusive to Arizona State, of course, was released yesterday to the public, Tuesday, as we're recording here on a Wednesday, and just a really awesome opportunity for Sun Devil basketball and, of course, ASU as a whole to spotlight one of their great alums.
Yeah, we're really excited about the release of the Harden collection. That's been another one of those fun projects that's been a couple years in the making at this point, and getting a chance to show it off. The response has been very, very positive right out the gate. It was fun being in the global headquarters where the product line came out, and a lot of their innovation team and their North American product specialists that had a chance to work on it were excited to finally get that news out as well. And it's nice to see the team behind the team, so to speak, in their element where they're looking for these launches. They're looking for the social media reaction just as much as we are. And so it was fun to be with them as the collection came out. And obviously we've got 4 basketball athletes getting some NIL opportunities through Adidas to release it. James really being such a point of pride for both ASU and Adidas. And, you've seen that play out with Pat Mahomes at Texas Tech. We're lucky that James Harden has been very invested in ASU in many ways in recent years, and that's been a big part of Adidas's DNA these past couple of years. And we were also there the morning after or the evening of, I'm not sure which it was with the time change, but Indiana taking home the national championship in football, playing Miami, another Adidas school. And you look at the momentum of the company just overall, and our partnership goes back well over 10 years now, and there's been some earlier iterations of Adidas and ASU, but really proud of the partnership. And so it was great for us to finally get a chance to go to the headquarters and just understand the scale of this global brand and tying that into American football and the recognition here in Germany that American college football is a significant sport for the business of Adidas as a global brand. And go back to Washington a couple years ago, playing in the national championship game, ASU and Indiana last year in the CFP, this year with Texas Tech, Miami in the mix, Indiana ultimately winning the national championship. The presence of Adidas schools playing deep in the college football playoff is a trend, and it's a trend that we expect to continue as they add Penn State and Tennessee moving forward. And so we've got a great partner in Adidas, and everything that we're able to do, collaborating with them, the football throwback jersey from last year, the one that we'll have this coming season, which we can't wait for fans to see, the James Harden collection, the really strong response we've gotten from the baseball and softball uniforms that we're putting out there. A lot of our momentum is fueled by great partners like Adidas, and that's why we can retain great coaches. That's why we can bring in high-end athletes that are representing the brand. Jordan Tyson was another great Adidas NIL athlete this last football season, and so I would look for that trend to continue. I mean, this is a partner that's invested in what we're doing. They understand the significance of college sports across the portfolio. They understand the importance of a very important demographic in college students and college sports fans all across the globe, and so. Maybe a tangent answer to the question, but there's a lot of excitement around Adidas, their association with ASU that'll continue over these next several years and hopefully much longer as well. But great to be in their space, great to come away with an even greater appreciation for the partnership and the brand. And we've got some fun images that we'll share on the show as well, their archive room and the unbelievable steward of the history of the brands, the homage that they paid to their founder, Adi Dassler. If you name a great product in Adidas history, they have it in their archives. And Freddie was our tour guide. He's German, but an American sports expert. He did a wonderful job as we walked in the room, and he had a game-used sneaker from Bobby Hurley when he was winning national championships at Duke. He had a game-used James Harden shoe from the first year of the Harden 1 on display. And so their attention to detail, their brand cues are spot on. And man, it was a ton of fun to be in that space and came away with a lot of ideas as well in terms of our own history, our own tradition, the ways that we can really curate and showcase great moments in Sun Devil sports history in our own way. And so I think that's part of the collaboration that we can expect moving forward as well.
Yeah, and that's a great answer there. And I think the personalized experience Adidas has given Arizona State too. It seems rather unique and not something that every university has been able to have. So really awesome stuff there. And shout out to Freddie, by the way, for clearly nailing his P's and Q's on the tour. Pretty impressive stuff.
Yes.
On what he was able to do. We got to let you go in a couple of minutes, Graham, but a couple of quick things to get through. Just one segment with you today, since you're overseas and it's pretty late at night over there in Germany. Big things on the horizon for both women's basketball and men's basketball this week. Of course, women's basketball, they are on the road really far east, not quite to Europe standards, but West Virginia and Cincinnati this week for Molly Miller's squad. West Virginia ranked opponent, so quad one opportunity for the Sun Devils there, and then Cincinnati on the road, I should say, on Saturday. Men's basketball, they'll be taking on the same two opponents, but they'll be at home. West Virginia on Wednesday night as we record this on Wednesday morning, and Cincinnati Saturday at 8 p.m. They'll be back at Desert Financial Arena. So a really good opportunity for both clubs, women's on the road, men's at home, to try to gain some momentum. Of course, women's basketball coming off that big win against Kansas over the weekend at DFA.
Yeah, really key week for both programs. And the women, I believe, already have 9 wins against top 100 teams in the net. West Virginia is sitting in that category, and so that's a really important road matchup, a chance to really steal an important road win, take care of business at Cincinnati as well. And then again, the way that we talked last week, how this schedule really sets up favorably at home down the stretch run. They get through this road trip with some wins under the belt. It really starts to set up an exciting conversation for the rest of the women's schedule. And the men, really important opportunity back at home to get back on the track. A mixed bag. Obviously, an incredibly difficult stretch of top 10 teams on the road. The BYU and Houston losses were disappointing. The U of A game was a lot to be proud of in terms of how they fought, the resiliency going up against the number one team in the country and taking them down to maybe the final 30 seconds. So These guys are playing hard. This coaching staff's working really hard as well, and there's a lot that they're playing for. So a really, really important week back at home for the men's team, encouraging our fans to get out there, really cheer for these young men. They're playing their tails off. They're proud to represent ASU. They're gonna grind this thing out. And we still have a chance to make some noise on the men's front as well during the conference season. So excited to see what they do. Kind of odd that they're playing the same opponents. 2 on the road, 2 at home, but great opportunity for both programs, and we wish them well as they get into the week.
No doubt. Well said. Last thing in terms of before we let Graham go, let's talk Sun Devil hockey, and we're going to be joined by Greg Powers in just a few moments. But it's a big home weekend for ASU hockey. They'll be taking on number 4 North Dakota.
Friday and Saturday at Mullet Arena. And of course, we talked last week, Graham, about the hockey team battling through some injuries. Unfortunately, that news continued to stack up for the Sun Devils earlier this week. But with that being said, they're still playing really good hockey as of late, number 23 right now in the NPI, and a massive opportunity against a top five team that ASU already defeated on the road once this year to try to pick up some really big wins at home this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, the atmosphere at Mullet's going to be electric. A lot of excitement. We know North Dakota is going to travel very well. The same reason I'm eager to get back home from Germany and England. Those North Dakotans are excited to get down to Tempe this weekend. And so there'll be a lot of green floating around the Novus Innovation Corridor, but it's going to be a lot of fun atmosphere. And as you mentioned, a difficult injury with Colin going down, but and Coach Powers will say it. We can predict it for him. He'll have that next man up mentality. That's going to be his mindset going into it, and it's just the way that they operate. And hockey's one of those sports that got a lot smaller with the roster caps that have entered the space this year, and so that's really tested their depth. But he's got the right personnel. He's got the right talent level. These guys are starting to click at the right time, the way that we've talked about on the past few shows. And so they won't have any excuses. They'll be ready to play Friday night and know they're going to get after it. And it's a lot of exciting. And apologies for rummaging around there, but there was a shirt I got to show Coach Powers, so you can preview it for him. But
Okay.
I
Okay.
mean, from the mothership in Germany, how awesome is that? A polar bear playing hockey. So we'll keep it light with Coach Powers, but
I love it. I love it.
yes, there you go. I don't know how
Well,
that ties into anything other than it was a cool T-shirt, and I thought of Coach when I saw it.
that's all it needs to tie in. Nothing more matters. One thing before we go, Graham, obviously we know you're on a tight crunch, but we got to give a couple of shout outs to some more home events this week. Water polo, they'll get going on Saturday and Sunday. They were on the program last week. That'll be at Mona Plummer really all weekend long. Gymnastics, they have their 50th anniversary celebration and their Big 12 home opener against BYU on Friday. They're coming off a nice win at Kentucky over the weekend. And then a shout out to the men's tennis program. They're now 6-0. That's their best start they've had since the program was reinstated about a decade ago. So a big shout out there. And Niels Varland, the Big 12 player of the week in men's tennis. So shout out to them. Shout out to you, Graham. Safe travels on your way home. Enjoy London. Glad Germany treated you well. And hopefully same time next week, we will be here in Tempe and not in a void in Zoom while you're in Germany.
That sounds good. And I'll mix in a Sun Devil for Life, tie it back to gymnastics. So you mentioned the 50th anniversary, 50 years of Sun Devil Gymnastics. They'll celebrate this weekend. Maggie Germain, a two-time All-American in the program. We were at ASU together, so she's a good friend. And her husband, Andre Ethier, also a Sun Devil Hall of Famer. I was talking to Andre over the weekend. He's helping out with Major League Baseball alum that's going to be heading back to the Valley, and Andre's well connected in the Valley on some things that this player is looking for, and so Andre's staying close to the Sun Devils as well. And I know for their family, this 50-year anniversary of gymnastics will be a ton of fun, and bring their four kids out to celebrate. And Maggie, a fixture in the program, somebody that was local, homegrown, could have gone to a lot of places, wanted to stay home and play at ASU. So maybe we'll go dual Sun Devils of the week.
I love
Sun
it.
Devil
Yeah.
for Life of the week, Maggie and Andre Ethier.
Shout out to Maggie and Andre, and certainly everything they've done for the program. Graham, we'll let you go. Safe travels on the way back, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right. Thanks so much. Thanks, guys.
Back here in Tempe, Sun Devil Extra returns. I'm your host, Braden Bell. We're now joined by the head coach of Sun Devil Hockey. They've got a really big weekend ahead. Greg Powers joining us on the program. Coach, how you doing?
Doing great. How are you, Braden?
I'm good. Thanks for hopping on to the program with us. We were just joking before we started recording between your coach's show and now this. You're talking a lot about your squad, and for good reason, before a matchup with a top 5 team in the country, number 4 in North Dakota, coming into Mullet Arena on Friday and Saturday night. Seems like a really great opportunity for your squad, who's been playing pretty good hockey as of late, to pick up a statement couple of wins, hopefully, and continue to move up the NPI.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity, and we're the margin between really 14 and 24 in the MPI right now is razor thin. So, a successful weekend for us. We are going to climb in a big way. We still have so much opportunity in front of us with the strength of schedule that we have left. So, if we can duplicate really our last dozen games over our next dozen games, I think we're going to give ourselves a really good chance and hopefully, obviously, improve on it. So, Really excited for the weekend. It's going to be a great atmosphere in here. I think there'll be, a good amount of North Dakota fans that travel down. So we need Sun Devil Nation and Maroon and Gold and the 942 crew to be out and be very loud for us.
Yeah, certainly expecting North Dakota fans to want to escape the cold, head down to Phoenix. But it's always been such a great home ice advantage for you guys inside of Mullet. I want to go back to the strength of schedule comment you just made, because the NCHC is the best conference in the country. In terms of taking on that grind week in and week out, now that you're in year number 2, has there been anything different than you've been able to adapt to now that you've been through the ringer for an entire year?
Yeah, I mean, last year, obviously we came in second and we're contending to win it, pretty much all the way through until the last weekend. We had an old experienced team, a veteran team, which was by design to go into our first year. And we brought in 11 freshmen this year that have figured out over the last, like I said, dozen games what it takes to compete. And when you play in such a good league and there's literally no nights off, especially now that Miami has really resurrected its program and become incredibly competitive and really good. There's no nights off, and it weathers you. It weathers you for postseason play. And that's why this league, when the teams that do get into the NCAA tournament, they're so successful because of what we see every weekend and the type and the brand of hockey that you have to play to be successful in this league. It's playoff hockey every night. So that's why 7 of the last 9 national champions have come for our league, and that's certainly something we're hoping to join and add to as Arizona State. That was one of those teams.
Coach, it's the second go-around against number 4 North Dakota. You played them at their barn in early November, split that weekend series. So you look back to that. Obviously, things have changed. You guys are playing good hockey. There are injuries, of course, scattered throughout both rosters, really. But what have you kind of been able to take from those first meetings with North Dakota in terms of their style of play and what fans could maybe expect to see this weekend as well?
They don't have any weaknesses on the roster. They have experience. They have really talented youth. They're as deep as it gets on the back end. I think that's really what makes them, separates them from everybody else right now in our league is their back end is so deep and so talented. And anything that you would want on a decor, they have, and so and then even kids sitting in the stands that many teams would love to have in the roster. So, then you couple that with how well their freshman goaltenders played this year. They're tough to beat. They're really tough to beat. That and at Duluth and at Dartmouth are 3 signature wins for us, 3 huge wins on the road in regulation. But the win at North Dakota, I think, is what really turned around our season. It gave our guys confidence. It gave them belief to play in that environment against the top 5 team and get a win in regulation. Really set us up for that run that we kind of went on. And now we have a 12-game segment in front of us that we have to, hopefully improve on. And the message to our guys is, hey, we beat them up there. We know what it takes to beat them. We know we're going to have to be really good to beat them. But if we can beat them up there, we can beat them twice down here. And we really believe that. And we are down a few guys, some really good players with Potter and Beck, 2 players that anybody in the country would love to have in their top 6 and probably on their top line. So they're difference makers for us. But we're not going to let that be our narrative, and that was the message today is let all the noise and everybody talking about the injuries and what we're missing and let them think we're in here sucking our thumbs. This is when we're at our best. This is when Sun Devil hockey is at its best. This is what we're all about. We've been an underdog really from day one and until, late this year. And when our backs are against the wall, we're going to come out and we're going to throw haymakers and we're not going to get backed into it.
Coach, you're firing me up. I'm ready to get going right now for you. I got to ask about that recent stretch because you mentioned that win against North Dakota and getting you kind of on this run, 5-3 over the last 8. Seems like you guys are starting to really round into form. But you look back to from that North Dakota win in regulation on. Obviously, you mentioned the Dartmouth win as well, which was a big one. What has really impressed you the most in terms of the play as of late and how you can continue to see that round into form and get better and better as we start to peak towards the end of the regular season?
I think the guys are buying into keeping the puck out of our net, and when you keep the puck out of your net, you give yourself a chance to win against anybody, right? So understanding that that's not necessarily just buying into to structure and discipline in the D zone, but it's managing pucks, right? We talk about it and we hear it a lot, but we want to defend when we have the puck. The best defense is when you have the puck, they can't score. So managing pucks and managing situations and making sure that we're not throwing pucks away and giving transition and gifting away opportunities. If you don't give teams anything and you make them earn every inch, you give yourselves a chance to really do some good things. And that's what we did in all of our big wins and what we've done through this stretch. Even the last series against Miami, we took 4 out of 6 points. We gave up 2 regulation goals all weekend. We just couldn't put the puck in the net. Their goalie was really good. But, if we continue that, the Desert Classic, we gave up 2 goals in regulation each night. The win at Dartmouth 1, the win at Duluth 2. So, we're really building an identity of trying to be tough to play against, being a forecheck predicated team, trying to play a lot of 60 minutes in their zone and dominating the possession game. And when you do those things, usually you get the good results.
Yeah, and the good results have really been showing as of late for your team, trying to continue that into this weekend. Coach, you kind of mentioned and addressed the injury to Cullen Potter, and of course that's something we've talked a lot about. No team's going to feel bad for you because of that injury, and of course it is that next man up. But for Cullen personally, someone who is so talented, obviously a first-round draft pick this past draft, 3 to 4 month recovery process. I'm just curious, as his coach, just his resolve and how you expect him to come back, hopefully even stronger from this setback, because unfortunately in sports, whether it's hockey or any other sport, injuries are part of it, and have to deal with it at this part of the year. It's obviously got to be disappointing for Cullen, but how do you see him bouncing back from this eventually?
Yeah, like I said, really disappointed for him because he was playing his best hockey that we've seen him play. And he was arguably the best player in college hockey over the last month. So it's really, I'm really most disappointed for him because his confidence was so high and he was really feeling it. But everything happens for a reason, right? And that's been the message to him. And he's got to make the most of this. That kid went through so much over the course of last year with the stress of being in his draft year, being a 17-year-old with all eyes on him. And he did it so well and handled it so well. And then he had a summer that not many kids go through, whether, he started and went back for USA Hockey and played at the U18 Worlds. And then he was at the World Junior Showcase. He went through the draft combine, then the NHL draft, and the development camp. He has not had any time off in probably a year and a half. So this obviously he's got to rehab and strengthen everything that he's getting worked on and fixed. But I think mentally, to have this time off is going to be the best thing that ever happened for him. And I think that he has a chance, assuming we get him back. And I think there's a good chance people will see him in a Sun Devil jersey next year. We'll see he's got decisions to make as far as going pro or whatever he's going to do. But if he's back, I think people are going to see the most dominant version of Cullen Potter that we've ever seen.
What was that conversation like with him? Obviously, when you both were aware of what was happening, I'm sure there was disappointment on both ends, but what were you kind of saying to him, and what was his response back to the initial learning of this unfortunate news?
Yeah, the biggest thing I said to him is, look, I'm not here to make your decision. You have your mom and dad and the people around you in Calgary, obviously, that are gonna chime in to tell you what they want you to do. He's a first round asset, and I'm here to support you, and I'm here to make sure you get everything you need to make sure that you get back to being Cullen Potter and an even better version than anyone's ever seen of you. And I'm here to support any decision that you make. So it was that simple. And that's my job, is to make sure it's always to put the program and the team first and win hockey games. But every kid, we're invested in their future, both on and off the ice. And we know that the best thing for him long term in his career was to get this thing fixed so he can be out there ripping and roaring next season.
Well, and you've still got yourself a really dangerous club, and you're being able to play at home 2 of the next 3 weekends. And so I know we talked about being at Mullet, the environment, the 942 crew, and the obviously just Sun Devil Nation coming in and packing it out night in and night out. But in terms of the actual tangible advantages that can bring, you're in the locker room with the guys. You get to obviously hear the crowd when they're at their peak. Now you're at home for 2 of the next 3 weekends. How big of a difference is it, besides obviously just the travel impact, but just to be at home in front of Sun Devil Nation?
It's huge. I still have to pinch myself with everything we've been through to build the program to where it is today. Every time, you walk out on the bench and you see a sold out crowd, it's surreal in every way. And I think that this is the youngest team we've ever had at ASU. We started with 11 freshmen. We have a lot of young players, not many guys that we lose at the end of the year to graduation. And so what I've seen them really evolve their mindset is appreciating how these people keep coming back and supporting them and spending their hard-earned money to come support and watch Sun Devil hockey. And it becomes in kind of a mindset and a will that the players just don't want to let them down, and there's so many games that come to mind where the fans at Mullet really willed us to wins. And it's a lot of fun. There's one this year we're down 3-0 with I think 14 minutes left in the game against Ohio State, and we came back and won the game. The place was going nuts. So many instances like that just are great memories for me and everybody that was a part of a program in those moments. And we're looking forward to so many more. I think this weekend has a really good chance to be one or two of those.
I think you're spot on. You hear so much about Activate the Valley, right? Well, Mullet Magic, Rock the Mullet, whatever you want to call it, that's just as big right now around Sun Devil Athletics. Coach, good luck this weekend. Like we said, number 4, North Dakota in Friday at 7, Saturday at 5, a couple of huge home games. If you don't have your tickets yet, definitely get on that because those are going to be phenomenal matchups to watch this weekend. Good luck out there, Coach.
Thanks so much, Braden. Appreciate you having me on.
That's it for Sun Devil Extra this week. A big thank you to Graham Rossini joining us from Germany, as well, of course, as head coach Greg Powers, as Sun Devil Hockey has a big weekend. We'll talk to you next week.